hunting is where the target animal is unfairly prevented from escaping the hunter, either by physical constraints like being in a fenced enclosure, or by mental constraints such as being habituated and hand raised. The canned hunting industry is a business model for cruelty to animals. That's what it's all about. That's what it's aimed at, that's what its goal is, that's what they're paid for.
I've been in South Africa a year ago, and I went to volunteer for a monkey, but I found out when I arrived there that I will be taking charge of 5 baby lions. So that's how I managed to be with 5 cubs. So when I arrived there, they told me that this 5 cubs was here just for a couple of months. They were going to a zoo in Denmark, and they didn't want to say where they were coming from, what will happen with them. They just say they're going to the zoo in a couple of months and that's it. So I tried to find out, but I was never able to know the truth. When I came back, I received a message from a person that was working at the place where I was volunteering, saying that Serabie, the youngest cub, was not going to the zoo in Denmark. She was going to a facility, Canon hunting farm, where she was coming from. When I found out that Serabie was going to a Canon hunting facility, that's where I freaked out. I never thought that I will be involved in such a disgusting practice. When you try to help animals and you find out after that what you have been done is just helping the circle of a disgusting practice, you're saying to yourself that you need to do something, that you need to find somehow to find something to help her. The day that I was leaving to go back to South Africa, the feeling that I was inside, it was incredible. It was fantastic. I knew that I was going to go back and see Serabie. So for me, I knew she will be bigger, maybe different. I didn't know how she was treated down there. So I was excited, and in the same time, I was a bit stressed of what will happen at the Canon hunting facility.
Okay, so now I am with Drew Abrahamson. We're going to get Serabie. We are in Bella Bella City. We woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We drove from Joburg to here. Unfortunately, we cannot bring the camera at the Canon hunting place because if we see the camera, the deal will be off. So we're a bit stressed, tense in the car, but everything's gonna be all right. We just hope we can go get Serabie and leave that horrible place.
When we arrived there, we saw so many lions and 2 tigers. In the enclosure of Serabie, they were 14 together. The lions with her was about 8 months to 13 months. In front of her enclosure, it was the baby that you can see that they were between 3 months and 6-7 months. And in the back, far, far away, that you can see big lions. They were there waiting and looking at what was happening, and they were probably more at the age of getting shot. I just wanted to grab Serabie and get out of there because but to see all the other lions, it was, first of all, it was very painful because you know you're taking one, but all the others is gonna wait and is gonna get shot. So you're doing something good, but in the same time, you're taking her from the only family that she knows. So it was painful. It was really hard. When we finished the rescue, I had a hard time, to talk. I couldn't eat. I couldn't stop crying because for me it was I couldn't stop thinking of all the others lying down there. when we left that place, we put Serabie in a Jeep and I sat with her in the back, and it was amazing to be able to touch her 6 months later. You know, she was maybe 40 pounds when I left. Now she was 150 pounds. So it was an amazing feeling to know that a lot of people helped me to rescue her. So I was really grateful for all of that. When we arrived at Hemoya Big Cat Sanctuary, it took her, she was starting to get awake, so we needed to quickly put her in the enclosure because it was hard for her, you know, she couldn't feel her leg, you know, when you're numb, so she was not able to stand up. It was really a hot day, so we put her a bowl of water. Nobody wants to get close of her because she was quite aggressive, because at the Canon farm they were beating them with like a plastic tube. So now she was scared of human. When I find out about Serabie, what will happen to her, I did a lot of research about Canon thing, and I find out that one of the best person to reach was Chris Mercer. Is the top person that you can talk about because he's been since the 90s involved against Canon facility.
We have nearly 200 captive lion breeders, call them lion farmers. Some of them hunt their own animals on their own properties. Others breed lions and sell them to other hunting operators to be shot either with bullets or with arrows somewhere else.
You take a lion that's been raised in captivity, not always by humans, but sometimes by his mother. Okay, sometimes he's a little bit wild, and then they stick him in an area which is closed off, and then they shoot him. You know, sometimes it can be 100 hectares or maybe even less. You know, but it's not really a proper hunt, is it?
Canned hunting is where any animal, but specifically we are talking about canned lion hunting here, is where a lion is put into a smaller enclosure, sometimes 1 hectare, 3 hectares, very often being sedated or drugged. A hunter comes into the enclosure and gets to hunt the lion and goes back home with a photo, trophy. He hunted one of the big 5.
The big arguing point that the guys have with canned lion hunting is that it's only 1 lion that's been shot. So, I mean, you must take all that info and decide for yourself what's right and wrong, but it's definitely a bad practice to go and do it.
The 2 schools of thought is that when you shoot a lion in the wild, you don't kill 1 lion, because normally you're going to go for the male, and then the new male coming in is going to kill the cub, so you've killed maybe 6 lions. Okay, so to farm them, which is I can't imagine, it's a horrible word, farm them for hunting, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not with either of it.
That is a common fallacy put out by the hunting industry to justify an industry which is based upon cruelty to animals. The canned hunting industry is a business model for cruelty to animals. That's what it's all about. That's what it's aimed at. That's what its goal is. That's what they're paid for. So now they come along and they say we are wonderful conservationists because for every tame lion killed, a wild lion is saved. And of course, it's just nonsense. People who come out and shoot a captive lion are not necessarily going to be given permits to go and shoot wild lions. Actually, if you banned canned lion hunting tomorrow, it would have no effect whatever on the hunting of wild lions. Permits would continue to be issued on the basis of what conservation structures consider to be the acceptable offtake of wild lion populations. So in short, it has nothing whatever to do with wild lion hunting. The canned hunting industry poses an enormous threat to our wild lion populations. Not only does it stimulate hunting, but one of the spin-offs from canned hunting is the ever-growing lion bone trade to Asia. Now, the big problem with that is that the Asians will not be satisfied with the bones of captive-bred lions. The reason is that in Chinese traditional medicine, the bones of wild lions are regarded as more potent than those of captive-bred ones. So the establishment of a thriving lion bone trade is going to impact adversely on wild lions in the form of increased poaching. Lions in the wild breed, I'm not an expert in that, but I would think probably every 2 years. Whereas in a captive breeding situation, they breed sometimes twice a year. And I've even been told of situations where they can squeeze a third breeding cycle into 1 year. So this is wholly unnatural. They are being speed bred for profit. The lion cubs are removed from the mother immediately at birth in case she rolls on them or in case the lion cubs get killed. And that's unnatural and causes stress to the mother as well as to the cubs. The cubs are then leased or rented out to facilities to be petted by tourists. And we know from talking to people who have kept lion cubs in this situation, it causes such stress when the lions are petted like that, that the cubs get diarrhea and they vomit and they show other signs of stress. From there, the lion cubs get older, and then some of the breeders use the older cubs for walking with lions. Now, we don't have a problem with the walking for lions so long as the lions are content and so long as they live a comfortable life thereafter. But unfortunately, the lion breeders use the walking with lions merely as a temporary measure to externalize the cost of rearing the lion to huntable size. Once the lion reaches huntable size, it is hunted. Hunted is not really the right word, it is executed. And a popular method of killing captive bred lions is with bow and arrow. That is still legal in most provinces in South Africa. After that, the bones are now available for the booming trade in lion bones to Asia. So there's the life cycle of a captive bred lion, an illegitimate industry whose whole business model is founded on cruelty to animals.
We do breed lions. Obviously, having cub touching, people being able to touch cubs is, you know, if you can give that to somebody and it stops them wanting to go hunting. You know, there's a big difference between hunting a buck and you put it in your fridge and you eat it, and hunting a lion. Hunting a lion is just for the trophy. So if you change one mind, for me that's pretty cool.
It is also very difficult because most people don't make that connection. To them it is taking a photograph with a cub, telling people, putting the picture on Facebook, getting 64 likes, not really making the deeper connection, not really realizing where these cubs come from, where they are going. If we could stop the breeding, we wouldn't have all these young lions put together in a small pen. If we could just stop the breeding.
We need to stop cub petting. We need to stop doing breeding because they end up in zoo, Canon hunting farm. So that will not change if we cannot stop that.
Avoid cub petting, because cub petting is a way that the lion farmers externalize the cost of rearing a lion cub to huntable size.
And any good sanctuary in South Africa that is worth their salt is not going to allow interaction and cub petting.
Cub petting is very popular, and the ethical lion sanctuaries who do not allow cub petting because it's so bad, they lose a great deal of money for exercising their ethics.
For people who are looking to come and volunteer and pet lions and even walk with lions, I wouldn't recommend it, because what's happening is it's just maintaining the circle that is canned lion hunting. It goes from cub petting to walking with lions, and then inevitably they will end up getting shot.
Volunteering, I would say, do your homework. People should have the choice whether they want to come and volunteer or not, knowing where the cubs come from, where they are going to. And if they support that, then I suppose you can come and volunteer, but just understand the flow of it, where they come from, where they're going to, and what is the end result for them.
They aren't aware of the actual problem. They think they are helping to conserve lion in the wild, which isn't the case at all. And they don't know. They need to be educated. The word needs to get out there that they need to ask relevant questions to the agencies that are advertising the jobs to come and volunteer.
And millions of people who are animal lovers throughout the world are making the mistake of volunteering at lion farms in South Africa who deceitfully pass themselves off as wildlife sanctuaries. We get volunteers who are animal lovers coming here, and then they are horrified when they find that they have been placed at a lion farm and that the cubs that they are looking after are going to be shot with a bow, an arrow, or a gun when they get old enough. Because of public pressure against the cruelty involved in canned hunting, the Minister for the Environment at the time, Minister van Schalkwyk, attempted to insert a clause in the TOPS regulations. TOPS stands for Threatened or Protected Species. And he attempted to impose a 24-month wilding rule. In other words, before a lion could be hunted, it had to be placed into a large camp where it could hunt natural prey for a period of 24 months before it could be shot. Now, we criticized that whole system as a farce, because basically what he was saying is, if we can all pretend that the lions are wild after 2 years of this, then we can all pretend that I have banned canned hunting. And of course, the lions would still come when you beat the dinner bell, so they would never be wild, truly. However, the 24-month wilding rule was considered an unacceptable expense to the lion farmers. So the South African Predator Breeders Association sued the minister, alleging that this clause was irrational or unconstitutional, or both. They failed in the High Court, but on appeal they succeeded. However, they succeeded on a different basis, and your viewers might be interested to know that the Supreme Court held that the lion farmers had nothing whatever to do with conservation. They were farmers who might as well have been farming with sheep and cattle, and therefore the minister responsible for conservation had no jurisdiction to impose limits on their activities. Nothing short of banning the industry is going to save African lions. And this is going to be unpopular, and it's going to involve heavy losses. Many of the lion farmers have threatened to sue the government for their losses if canned hunting is banned, because they say, you gave us permits to do canned hunting and captive lion breeding, and we spent millions of rands on building infrastructure, and now you come along and tell us we can't do it anymore. Right, you pay us compensation for our expenses. So for that reason, I do not see the South African government ever taking steps to ban canned hunting. we will have to get it banned by working with people overseas to cut off the flow of funds to this awful industry.
The South African government need to ban the breeding of lions. There are just too many. There are over 4,500 captive bred lion at the moment in the country. It's something that's not going to stop unless the government do something. But unfortunately, there are a lot of government officials that are on the take, from the Breeders and the Hunters Association in South Africa.
In the United States, there is a move at the moment to have the status of lions raised to endangered by the US Fish and Wildlife Service. Now, if that happens, it means that the trophy hunters will not be able to import their lion trophies back to America, and that will immediately kill that section of the industry, and that accounts for about 55% of the income. Now, if through the Eurogroup of animal welfare organizations we can achieve the same thing for Europe, that will knock out another 40% of the industry's income. And if we can educate people to stop volunteering and cub petting, we can kill this industry by cutting off the flow of funds.
The money that they bring with them doesn't always stay here. 9 times out of 10, they've paid 3/4 of the money into a bank account in America, in the States. You know, these guys go with a book, and they go all the way around all the hunting clubs.
I can't point a finger at any individual captive lion breeder or any canned hunting operator and say that he's involved in foreign currency swindling, but it's perfectly legitimate to point out that there is a wonderful opportunity to take a portion of the agreed fee in payment for the sale of the lion into one's account overseas, and thereby avoid paying tax and build up a nest egg of money outside South Africa. And it would be surprising if some at least did not take advantage of that opportunity. The hunting industry, unlike ecotourism, enriches the hunting industry. It has virtually no beneficial impact to surrounding communities, whereas ecotourism resorts have a great deal of financial benefit for surrounding communities. There have been studies done for this, and statistics are available.
Lions are not at this stage considered endangered, but they are considered to be on a sensitive level.
10 years ago, there was 56,000, and there's 20,000 now. It's going down, and it's going down very fast.
If you look at their dwindling numbers in the wild, we believe they should. I think why they aren't is because they breed very easily in captivity, and they are simply not viewed as endangered, but we believe they should.
They ought to be placed on the endangered list now because there is an upsurge in poaching and they're reaching critical levels. But at the moment they're classified as Appendix 2 on CITES, which is the category below endangered.
They should definitely be listed as endangered. If they are, then it would make things with regards to changing laws a lot easier for conservationists in South Africa. The US Wildlife and Fisheries Department need to list them as endangered, because if that happens, then the laws will change with regards to exporting the lion trophies into the United States.
You can care by talking about can hunting. You can care about animals by donation. If you don't have time, you can donate your money, or if you don't have money, you can donate your voice in the way that you can talk about it. So if we talk about cruelty, animals cruelty like this, the more we talk, the more we have chance to save them.
What you can do is educate people about the evil of an industry whose business model is cruelty to animals. Then you look at where the money comes from to fund this awful industry. And two steps that you can take immediately to prevent canned hunting: you can stop volunteering at lion farms who pose and pass themselves off as wildlife sanctuaries. And the second thing you can do to help lions is to avoid cub petting, because cub petting is a way that the lion farmers externalize the cost of rearing a lion cub to huntable size.
Stop supporting all the petting farms, because I don't know how many people have actually asked themselves the question, what happens to these cubs after they are too strong to be put in an enclosure with human interaction? What actually happens to them and where do they go? I think the biggest step would be just to inform yourself and stop supporting the industry.
So you should always support ecotourism facilities and wildlife sanctuaries that do not breed predators and who do not allow cub petting.
For Serabie, it's a happy ending. She's at Emoya Big Cat Sanctuary, owned by Minunet's daughter, and Drew.
Emoya is actually for all the cats, so it would sway from, I don't know, servals to all the tigers. It's for any cat that actually needs like a retirement, you know, a retirement place. It's for any cat that needs a home, a forever safe home.
The idea is, or was, to provide a home for retired animals from circuses or zoos that can't really look after big cats.
It's a really wonderful place. She's with another lioness of her age named Chanel, that was a cub from Egypt. She's with two other male named To and Raka. They're not gonna do breeding, so that was a major concern with me, because I don't want that. She will live a wonderful life with her own pride in the huge place, so it's like in the wild. For her, it's really, really a happy ending. I'm happy for everything that people help me with.